Hey there, Jacob Rhodes with TrueTrac, and what I want to cover in this video today is the TrueTrac Simple Square. Okay, I want to show you what you get in the kit whenever you purchase it, how to put everything together and install it on the track, and then also how to use it and what you can expect whenever you're using it. Okay, so the first thing is, what do you get? Right, you get the body of the Simple Square, which is 6061 aluminum. Starts out as a piece of bar stock, a little bit over 16 inches long, 5 inches wide. We do all the machining on this in-house. This is the first piece that we've had that's actually 100% made here. This is one of the first things we did to justify the CNC machines we brought in, as well as the connectors and a couple other pieces that we make. But 100% made in-house. It's been kind of fun. On top of that, you're going to get two 12-inch long connectors. Okay, these are going to have basically the same dovetail shape as the standard connectors that are just longer. It's got 4 holes drilled and tapped in it. They're drilled and tapped at 1/4-20. Same thing as the regular connectors. You have 2 holes that are closer together and 2 that are spaced further apart. The 2 that are closer together are the ones you're going to use when you put it to the body of the Simple Square. The ones that are spaced further apart are for locking it down once you put it into the track. Okay? So you get the body of the square, the 2 12-inch long connectors, and then we use shoulder bolts to mount the 2 together. So if you're not familiar with what a shoulder bolt is, basically it's got a little shoulder here on the outside and then your threads. But this is a tight tolerance diameter, and what we do on the body of the square is we actually drill and ream these holes. So whenever you ream a hole, you drill it undersized, you ream it to the correct size, and you can get basically a diameter to within 1/1000th of an inch. Okay, so that way whenever these go in here, there's no unnecessary play, but it gives you enough of a slip fit that everything fits nicely. Okay, so all of that's going to come to you. It's going to be shrink wrapped up just like this. Got your shoulder bolts, got your connectors wrapped up in paper, and you've also got the Simple Square body itself, as well as a paper copy of the instructions. And those instructions can be found on the website if you lose them or you want a color copy. Okay, so the next step is going to show you how to put basically the connectors to the square, and then what you're going to need to do that. So let me get this stuff out of the way and we'll get up and do that. Alright, so now that we've got everything laid out here and we've got a little bit of room to work, we're going to put the connectors onto the body of the Simple Square. And to do this, you're going to need a reference square. Okay, it can be a machinist square, it can be a speed square, whatever you trust. Okay, you need this because what we have to do is we have to align the body of the square to the connectors after the connectors are in the track. Okay, the dovetail design on the connectors is going to pull everything square between the track and the connectors. What you need the reference square for is to take the body of the Simple Square and make sure it's 90 degrees to the connectors. Okay, once you do that, you can take the connectors in and out of the track. You shouldn't have any problems. Okay, we've got our shoulder bolts here. The shoulder bolts use a 5/32 Allen key, so if you got a set of Allen keys, 5/32 is what you need. Set screws are 1/8 of an inch. So basically what we got to do is just take the narrow side of the connectors here, and there are machined ridges that are on the top of the Simple Square, and those go together. So basically the narrow side of the connector to the body of the Simple Square, and then you just want to thread in the shoulder bolts. And you don't want anything tight at this point. The term I like to use is finger loose. So get them tight, finger tight I should say, and then back them off about a 1/2 turn. Okay, so install the 4 shoulder bolts there and get them finger loose. All right, so we get the second one up here. And then once we do this, we're going to get over to our piece of track we want to use, and I'm just going to put it on a 2-foot piece. It's easier to do the demo with, and most of the time that's what you're going to be using this with, unless you've got a longer cut. It really makes cross cuts a breeze, but we'll get to that in just a second. All right, so you want this loose enough so that your connectors can move around, and the reason you want your connectors to be able to move around is so that whenever you put it into the track, everything can fit in there until you tighten it all up. Okay. Now on the track itself, you want to take the narrow side, you want to remove the anti-chip strip. The Simple Square is designed to fit off of that narrow side, so you can do most of your cutting on the 90 degree or the regular side or the wide side of the track. But basically we just take that anti-chip strip out, slide the body of the square in there, and what I like to do is just take the back edge of the square here and line it up to the bottom of the track, okay, or the back of the track. Okay, something like that. and we flip it over. And the first thing we want to do is take our 1/8 inch Allen key and just tighten down the set screws in the connectors in a diamond pattern. Okay, that's going to self-align the connectors to the track so that now the connectors are referenced to the track. The reason we take the anti-chip strip out is so the body of the square can move and it doesn't get bound up on that. Okay, now we take our reference square, we put it up against the body of the simple square and the edge of the track, and this is really where you want to be careful. Okay, taking a little bit of extra time and making sure you do this right is going to make sure that everything comes out right when you make your cuts, right? Similar to measure twice, cut once. Make sure it's square. Okay, so bear with me here a little bit and we will make sure we get rid of all the gaps. Okay, and then we take our 5/32 and we do the same thing with our shoulder bolts. Get them tightened down in a diagonal pattern. And once you get them snug down, it's always a good thing to double check. Okay, so we get those locked down after everything is good. Now we can reinstall our anti-chip strip here. And this is designed so it can slide right over the top of the simple square, but it really depends on the anti-chip strip itself. Some of them, like, oh, this one's not too bad. They'll actually hit in here and you'll probably have to force it just a little bit. It depends on how consistent the anti-chip strip is, and some of them are a little bit thicker than others. Like this one seems to be not too bad. All right, so just slide that back in there and you're good to go, right? So that's how we install the simple square to the track. First thing is we put the shoulder bolts in and we get them connected to the connectors, okay? You want it loose at that point. Then you slide the connectors into the bottom of the track. You tighten down the 4 set screws. Your simple square should still be loose, and remember to take out the anti-chip strip so that you can still move this and reference it to the edge of the track itself. The connectors reference to the track. We reference the square to the track. That way everything's square, right? So now we'll get this tabletop moved out of the way and we'll make some cuts. And basically what I want to do is run you guys through how to square a board from beginning to end. All right, so we've got our sacrificial piece up here, and what I want to do is just walk you through the process of squaring a board just in general, and then how the simple square makes it a lot easier. Okay, if you're familiar with how to square a board, feel free to jump ahead in the video to where you can actually see this in action. But basically, it's relatively simple. You want to make sure you've got one edge that you can reference from, right? We can call that the index edge. This is just a piece of compressed particle board we had. It has a nice wood grain here on the top, and it actually broke off from another piece. That's how we got that nice jagged edge up there. And what we want to do is we want to have one straight line, okay? It doesn't have to be square to the other sides because you have to start somewhere, right? Most milled edges are okay, but if you're actually making something you want to turn out really nice, you're going to want to do this from the beginning up. So the first thing you want to do is just grab your track, and it can be a longer piece that doesn't have the square on it. And all you've got to do is actually go through and just make a skim cut. Okay, so just about the width of a saw blade, and just make sure that you're taking material off the entire way down. If we were doing this jagged edge first, why not? It's actually the better one to show you. We'll get this flipped around here real quick. So we just want to go through, and I want to take this edge that isn't worth anything at the moment and clean it up, okay? So again, we just want to go through and we want to make a straight line that's taking material off all the way down, okay? So we got a little bit of material here, we got a lot over here, trying to roughly get it close to the milled edge over there, but this is how you do it. Okay, so there's our scrap piece. Get out of the way there. Okay, so now we have our index edge. And it's always a good idea, just take your pencil, write an I on it. That way you know which one you care about. And as we can see, as I can see, you guys might be able to see it. There's a nice little gap there, so these two sides aren't perpendicular to one another. And those two sides are not perpendicular to one another. Alrighty? So, this is our index edge. The next thing is, we got to get these two sides going this way, referenced to that one. And this is where the simple square really makes it easy, because all you've got to do is take it, butt it up against your index edge, slide it over until you can make a skim cut. And again, you want to make sure that you're removing material all the way down. Grab your saw, throw it on the track, and make the cut. Okay, so there's our first edge there. And as always, you want to double check and make sure that it comes out square. Okay, no gaps, which is exactly what we want. So now this side and this side, these two are perpendicular to one another. Now we got to do this side. So the easiest thing to do is just flip your board. You're still using the same index edge. You're just on the opposite face of the board now. And we do the exact same thing. We slide everything over, so we're making sure we take material off all the way down. And just like that, push up with your simple square here, and we make the cut. Okay, so now we've got both of these ends referenced to this one, and we always want to double check. Got a nice square corner there, right? Now, the last thing we want to do is we want to make sure, this is our index edge, these are the two we just cut. We want to make sure the opposite side is parallel to our index edge. Two different ways you can do it. You can take the simple square, you can run it up against the edge that you just cut. You can go all the way down through there and make another skim cut, okay? It's going to get you really, really close. There is some stuff about incremental error. Woodworking depends on what you're doing, okay? If you're happy with a little bit of variation, this is the fastest way to do it, okay? The second way, and a little bit more old-fashioned, is you take and you measure it and you say this is a little bit over 14.5, and this one's just a smidge more over 14.5. So you pick a number that both of those measurements fit into. So I said 14.5 because that was the first thing that was easy that popped up in my head looking at the tape measure here. So we measure over 14.5. Put this around here so it's easier for me to cut. Put this down here out of the way for a moment. We grab our other track, and if you didn't see, the wood we're working with here is just a smidge longer than the 2-foot track can handle. So we will get this set up with our 57-inch track. And this is just like making any other cut with your saw. You just line it up on your marks, grab your saw, drop it in here, and we make our cut. Another piece of scrap. All right. So now we've went through and we've made 4 cuts. And the best way to see if something is square is to check the diagonals, right? If you can check the diagonals, they should be equal to one another. So we've got 26 1/8 on that one. And 26 1/8 on this one, okay? So what you need to square a board, you got to make one straight line, okay? From that straight line, you do 2 cross cuts. It's really easy if you got the simple square, because all you got to do is reference the edge that you made straight in the first place. And then you got to get the far side parallel to your index edge. 2 ways you can do that. One is you can use the simple square up against one of the edges that you cut, or you can simply draw 2 measurements, one at each end, pick a number that's the same. In this case it was 14.5, whatever it happens to end up being. Lay your track up there, make your cuts. Now we have a board that has 4 square corners. Just to prove that to you, there's the first one. And the second one. Third one there. Don't know how well this is showing up, but all 4 corners don't have any gaps. All right. So that's how you use the TrueTrac Simple Square. And the real nice thing about this is when you're done with it, you can take your 1/8 inch Allen key here, pop your 4 connectors loose, slide the anti-chip strip out of the way, and it pulls out. Okay, so as long as you don't take the shorter bolts off of the connectors, you shouldn't have any excessive variation when you slide this back in and tighten down the Allen set screws again. Sorry, not the Allen keys, that's what I'm using. So anyway, we've taken it out, we've put it back in, and here's the moment of truth. Get it the rest of the way out of there. And I would call that pretty good. Okay? So you can take it on, you can take it off. Big thing is, if you don't trust it, just check it. Then all you've got to do is take your 5/32, crack those 4 shoulder bolts loose, re-reference it to the edge of your track, and you're good to go. Okay? Now one of the key things about this is the ability to reference an edge that you've already trimmed, so you know that it's straight and you get a 90-degree cut. Works really well with a 2-foot piece. Like I said, if you use the longer pieces of track, you're going to see a little bit more variation basically at the end of your cut. If you measure the first one up here, it'll be fine, but at the end you'll be off just a little bit. And you saw how easy it is to bounce back and forth between the 2 pieces of track. Just makes it a lot easier. So hopefully that helps you guys out in understanding how the simple square works, what you get with it, how to use it, how it makes squaring up a board a lot easier. And if you guys have got any questions, feel free, email us, call us. We're here to help you. And happy woodworking. Thank you.